The wrestling, I never fully got to be satisfied with the way I wrestled. But I got to be this character that, you know, people joke and they say it's a Hall of Fame character already. If that happens, it'd be amazing. I always tell people that imagine walking across a tightrope and you're just focused on the rope. You're not looking down. You're just walking across the rope. And then when you get to the other side, you look back, you're like, oh my God, I would have died if I fell. That was my mindset of making it to the WWE. I remember I was kind of dating this girl in Kentucky, and I was like, you know, you want to like be my actual girlfriend? And she's like, you don't have a job. I was like, what? I was like, I'm gonna be a WWE wrestler. And she's like, come on, you know, no one really makes it. I'm like, what? Of course I'm gonna make it. I didn't come down here not to make it. So I was just super focused. There was no doubt in my mind. But when you get there and you get called up, now you have this fear of losing. Like, what if it's over? You know, you can't worry about it being over until it starts. But as soon as it starts, you have this fear of losing it. And so there was a European tour going on, and they flew me in midway through the tour. So I got to Milan a day early. I was by myself, walking around. You know, then I saw on the bus sheet, they were coming in later. So I knew a couple guys, because a couple guys came from OVW. They come through OVW, maybe coming off an injury. So I knew some of the guys on the road. And, you know, the welcome was okay. And then, yeah, you know, we had this rehearsal, and I debut from the audience. And yeah, there was some tension, because there's a lot of guys that have been busting their ass for years. And like, why does this guy get it? And I see it happen on the other side too. When I'm in the locker room, some new guy comes up and he gets a title, but I can't complain about it because it happened to me. That night was a bit of an interesting night. I don't want to say it's famous, but you know, there was some rituals. I had to wear the title down to the hotel bar, and we had to drink, and we had to drink, and we had to drink. But growing up in Toronto, when we grew up, it was a big club scene in Toronto, so we went out to clubs all the time. So there was nothing they were gonna do to me that I haven't done to myself, or had, you know, going to a bar and shots. So, plus, you know, I'm 33 years old. I'm not a kid. I'm a rookie, but I'm not a rookie. So I ran off to catering and I ate down as much white rice as I could, just wolfing it down, because I knew what was coming. And I sat there and told myself, okay, your job right now is to stand here and endure, and just endure. Don't sell this alcohol, just stand here. So yeah, it was shot, and I'm having the greatest time of my life. You know, Ric Flair's at the bar. Shawn Michaels came down for apparently the first time in like years. And Cena he was pissed because he didn't even talk to him for years. He was, you know, I guess intimidated. It's Shawn Michaels. But he came down, you know, Michael Hayes and Arn Anderson, Ricky Steamboat. I mean, the bar was packed, full of, you know, Hall of Famers. It was amazing. And then I started calling for more shots. I go, more shots. And they're like, damn, this is not working. This guy's not going out. You know, thank God. But the rice was just a delay, because it kicked in. I remember CM Punk was walking out, and he was walking in at like 6:30 in the morning, and he's like, how are you still standing? And so the story is that I reversed the rib, because a lot of guys were falling off and just going to bed, and I was still there. But it got me. It kicked in. I think I fell into a plant. I was guided to walk to my room, and then the worst feeling in the world is knock, 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 knock. I was found, I believe, naked on the bed or something. And maybe I think I had the title around my waist. Anyway, and they're like, the bus is leaving. And I'm like, they're waiting for you. They've been waiting for a while. So not what you want to hear on your second day of the job. And I was escorted down to the bus. I brought my gear, and it was bad. Luckily, they let me find a corner of the underground arena in Milan and sleep it off a little bit, just enough to not throw up in public. So the babyface Santino, it didn't catch. This is when the time that the crowd started becoming mean, vicious, like they wanted to see me get killed by Umaga. Umaga was hard to be a heel because it was so impressive and the things he did were so awesome in the ring. You know, you didn't want to hate him. So I think it made the Office think, I don't know if it's working with this guy as a babyface. And they said, okay, we'll give him a chance to be a bad guy. And if that doesn't work, it would have been see you later or repackaged or whatever. So I didn't know that at the time. So they wanted me to be a bad guy. So I was going to be speaking English with an Italian accent. Well, again, it seems like everything that I grew up with always came full circle and I was able to completely apply. So growing up in Mississauga, most of my parents' friends were from Croatia, Slovenia, Greece, Portugal, Italy, and they were all immigrants. So all our parents had accents. So I was always around European accents. So I took little traits from different parents and my uncles and kind of that was Santino's original accent. And you know, giving little Italian expressions or phrases here and there just kind of added to the authenticity of the character. Often you'll see in wrestling there's the move of the month or the move of the week, and you know, there was a time when everyone would shoot somebody and go for a backdrop and they'd kick them up. And it was like in every match. Or shoot someone in the buckle, come charging, the guy moves, eat a shoulder, in every match. So I wanted to be different. The Cobra was, I was in a bar in Japan and this guy showed me this thing where he transformed his arm into this little thing and made it like a little puppet. And it was funny, it was cute, we laughed, and that was it. Never thought of it again. And then years later, in trying to be creative, I said to Cena, I said, hey, check this out, what do you think of this? So during the match, I think it was the Carlito, you know, I was kind of making my comeback and I was hitting him, bam, 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 and I got up and did this Cobra thing, bam, and he turned into a schoolboy, 1, 2, 3, and the crowd instantly laughed at it. So we kept that. You know, the headbutt, I was doing this headbutt as a comedic headbutt. I was doing it in OVW. And I remember Al Snow, another coach I had, which was awesome, was Al Snow. He said, I'll never do a headbutt in WWE, like the diving headbutt that I used to do with the salute. So, you know, it was kind of a message, hey, Al, look at me now. So I did the headbutt. Kicking my leg in the air, it's called, you know, adding a hype to your hip toss. That's actually very similar to a judo technique. And in the beginning, you can see some of my early matches, I'm doing a lot of judo takedowns. But then when Santino became not the toughest guy in the world, it seemed like if he won a match, it would be lucky. And then I had to kind of, you know, dummy down his skill level to make it more comedic. Because you have nothing funny about really being a badass. So, but if you have this fortune that falls in your lap, that's a story. When I first got there, you know, Undertaker was still in the locker room. So Undertaker was the locker room leader. You know, when you first start, you're so afraid of making a mistake that it's hard to really put all the personality and the emotion into the character because, you know, you're just worried about hitting your cue. What's my line again? God, please don't freeze up. And then when you get more comfortable, then you're able to really enjoy the moment. I remember my first WrestleMania, I walked to the ring and we did our thing and you know, I was with Snoop Dogg, a civilian, and is he gonna be there at the right time to do this and that? Okay, I'm gonna turn around, I hope he's there. And then I got back and I'm like, damn, I didn't even look up once. I didn't even like look around and go, wow, you're in WrestleMania. And so then every subsequent year, I made sure I had a moment, whether it was walking to the ring or I had a couple matches where I was in some tag matches, and I'm on the apron going, yes, this is pretty damn cool. You are in WrestleMania. There are some jitters for sure. And then when you realize you have the power to go off track and bring it back on track, as long as you know where you're going, you really can't get lost. And when you have that kind of confidence, then you're completely comfortable in the ring at that point. And if you're dealing with someone and they go off, I can bring them right back. And when you realize you have that control, the jitters subside substantially. The big thing is, when you see the wrestling match on TV, it's the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more behind it. When Raw and SmackDown kind of combined, I was on the road 5 days a week. So it's important to have very good luggage. You're going to be dragging it around the world. And we drive. I've driven, and I'm always the one that drives for my little crew. So, you better be good at driving and staying awake. A lot of that happens at nighttime. And we're trying to save money, like we get paid a decent amount, but we're also paying for our hotels and rental cars and food. So the more you save, the more you get to keep. And some guys like to be in nice hotels, and I'll split a 3-star with Damien Sandow and save some money. My first 3 years on the road, I rode with Randy Orton, and he liked driving in Suburbans and going to nice steakhouses, and it was great. We were living the life a little bit, but I'm not making Randy Orton money. So when he got his bus, I remember when he got his bus, he's like, so I guess see you around. I was like, he's like, you can come on the bus sometimes. I'm not coming on your bus, man. It's like, sleeping on someone's couch. But then I rode with Vladimir Kozlov for a few years, and the last couple of years has been Damien Sandow. And Kozlov and Sandow, they're all about saving money. The people you ride with, you got to have very similar interests. There's guys, and they like to go to strip clubs. Then they're going to find each other. Some guys like to drink. Some guys are smokers. There's all different reasons why you'd ride together. I like to go to bed early, get up and train, take my time. I don't want to get up hungover. I got to perform. So you find like-minded people. When I first got there, Undertaker was still in the locker room. So Undertaker was the locker room leader. I've even seen an actual court take place. It was pretty crazy where they sit around and they discuss it like men, like gentlemen, and it's very logical. And they really protect their locker room. For the time I was there, it was John Cena, and nobody was really hating on him because they saw exactly how hard he was working. This guy was, for a while carrying the business. He would get up, he'd fly to LA, do a talk show, he'd fly back, do a movie, come back to do TV, and repeat for years straight. He leads by example. And, was I willing to work as hard as him? And probably not, to be honest. He was a machine. His opinion just weighs a lot with me. He's a super intelligent guy. I would definitely bounce ideas off him and get his opinion. Like any human being, he's not 100% perfect. He's not 100% right all the time, but he's right enough that, you'd want to get his opinion on things. Really good mentors, Triple H, Cena, Vince, and a lot of the other guys that have been there for years. And they're only going to really take you under their wing if you show some respect and you're ambitious and you have the qualities that they want to see. And now that I'm exiting the in-ring game, it means a lot to me to see who's coming up and make sure this guy is not a prick and this kid's deserving and this kid's respectful, and to make sure that the locker room continues in the right direction. The locker room is a sacred place, and we got to keep it that way. Umaga gave me this kind of I think Big Boss Man used to do a spinning fadeaway slam, but he let go of me and I landed on my head and my shoulder. So instant separation, like my bone was up to here, and I kind of got my bell rung, and I looked, and I was like, oh no. I didn't know how bad it was. I knew it looked really bad. So yeah, that doesn't heal. That's just your body kind of heals up, but it's always, I got this bone sticking out forever. Yeah, now my neck, of course, the neck was a ticking time bomb. I would have flare-ups where I couldn't move it, I couldn't go far back, but they would just flare up, and I'd get a massage and some ice, and it would kind of go down. And then the flare-ups were getting closer and closer, and there was less time in between them. And then it got to a point one day, oh yeah, I couldn't move my head at all. It got locked in position. I had very, very small, range of motion where it didn't hurt. And I had to get a collar. And then we got some MRIs, and we found out that there was some pretty significant damage with the deterioration of the discs. So my disc was hitting my spinal cord, and the disc was actually calcifying. So it was like a piece of bone on my spinal cord. And I was in danger. If I got into a car accident and I had trauma to the neck, I could have been paralyzed. So we fused the vertebrae and protected myself. And there was just no bouncing back. It was mounting and accumulating until it got to a point where I was rendered unable to do it anymore. The wrestling, I never fully got to be satisfied 100% with the way I wrestled. You suffer in the same way as each other. So you become really close with each other. We're showing each other our families, and we're always talking about our kids to each other. Hey, how's your son doing? How's his football team? And we miss a lot of birthdays. We miss recitals and games. And when we go home, we overcompensate or supercompensate. And we're like super parents for, a couple days. And then the spouses get upset because they're doing the daily grind, making sure they got lunches and they're out the door. So it puts a tension and a lot of stress on the relationships at home too, not just with the kids, but with people's husbands or wives. But relationships are very tough for us, especially with kids. There's a lot of kids that they'll end up resenting their parents, and they'll express themselves, and often in tears, and it's hard. Where's daddy or mommy? Why aren't they home? They chose wrestling over me. Especially when they see you having fun. They don't realize it's a struggle. And I took my daughter on the road a few times. I said, you want to see what it's like? Okay, here. We're driving, and we're staying in hotels, and we're driving, and we're staying in hotels. And we're going to sit in the locker room for 4 or 5 hours and kill some time till it's our moment to go out there and do what we do, and then get back in the car and drive again. So, she doesn't want to come too much anymore because it's pretty boring for her. But it's good for them to see what we do, that we're not partying and living it up and having the great time. It's a great time in different ways. It's a great time because obviously we're free spirits, and it's hard to hold us down and tie us down, and we like to be driving, and we like to be going from town to town.
Here we are at a Japanese restaurant where the food comes by on a conveyor belt.
And there's my dad right there, and his tag team partner there.
Okay.
And that's his closet.
I showed that already.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, we did.
So
Okay, but look at the mirror. That way you can see
I saw
us.
that too already.
No, you didn't. Yes, you did. See?
It's not for everybody. There's a lot of guys that they get there and they realize, ooh, this is not what I thought it'd be. Because you're selling, your paycheck, you're trading it for your life. You're living 5.5 days a week away from home. And then when you look back, you question, you're like, was that just worth it? Did I just miss 10 years of my family for money? Like, money's not supposed to be that important. But then the money's for your family. So you're never quite sure if you did the right thing. It's a vicious mental cycle that you have to deal with. And a lot of guys do it, they go through it. It's not just me, everyone goes through it, wrestling, I never fully got to be satisfied 100% with the way I wrestled. I like battle art style, and I like hard, aggressive, realistic grappling. And I didn't get to do that, but I got to be this character that, people joke and they say it's a Hall of Fame character already. Whatever. If that happens, it'd be amazing. But only because I stood out so much as being a character. And one thing I used to get a lot from people, and this is more than once, so it has to be a little bit of a trend. People would say, hey man, I used to watch wrestling so much, I kind of got out of it. But when I saw your character, or my friend told me about your character, I started watching it again, and I want to thank you for bringing me back into wrestling. And I've heard that like a lot. And that to me is a huge compliment, to bring somebody back into wrestling because of your character. And they call me old school. Even the old timers go, man, you're like one of us back in the day. And I'm like, that's amazing. Because that's when I loved it. And that's what I guess in the back of my head, I always thought it should be like. The comedy did pigeonhole me a little bit, but it was also pigeonholed me in a way that I'm gonna have a job for a long time. There was really no competition at the time for a comedic character. And although that character will not be in the main event for the heavyweight championship, he'll have a job. And yeah, when you're a kid, you want to be a heavyweight champion. And when you get there, you want to keep your job. So it was about job security. I was involved in some big moments. I had some titles, Intercontinental, US Tag Team. I kind of thought there would be a moment where I had that miracle moment and win the heavyweight championship. And, it may have happened, but, my neck surgery prevented me from wrestling anymore. So it didn't happen, but you never know. Could happen still.